So recently I had to know that Redux Toolkit has a different setup in Next.js. In normal React White application, the previous one is work perfectly fine. But in Next.js, Redux Toolkit has little bit a different setup. If you visit their official documentation, here the side in the side panel, click on the setup with Next.js. You will see the whole guide how to set up your Redux toolkit with Next.js, right? And there are lot of things. And as I see, last update on April 22 in 2026. So I think this is the most recent one, right? And honestly, I don't know about it. So I'm reading the articles, and what I do is I create a basic understanding uh, Figma here, where we understand couple of topics, key topics that what are the major difference when you are set up your next Redux toolkit in normal React application and when you set up your Redux toolkit in Next.js. So there is a difference. So that difference we are going to cover in this video. So for today, we are seeing folder structure. Most of you already know the folder structure, right? And creating a Redux store per request. So we see in couple of minutes what this line means, and next we are going to see providing the store. So let's see. So before moving forward, I have a question that why we need different Redux toolkit setup in Next.js, right? Because this is the basic question comes in everyone's mind that um, Redux toolkits work very well in the React application. So why do we need in different setup in Next.js, right? So let's understand. As you see in normal React application, the flow is like uh, we have a browser. Inside the browser, we run our React application, and inside the React application, we have Redux store, right? Imagine if multiple people open your app. So let's say you create a website, right? And at the same time, multiple people are using your websites. So let's see, there are user A, user B, and user C. So every user has their own browser, right? And inside that browser your application will be opened by the user, and your Redux store will be set up on the client side. Client side means browser, right? So different user has different store, right? User A has Redux store A, user B has store B, user C has store C. So this is work completely fine. This is our basic configuration, like we using configure store in React Redux, right? And this is how we create a store in React White application, right? So let's see what in Next.js, and let's see in Next.js can execute your code on the server before it reaches the browser. So already, if you are working in Next.js, you already know. If you not working in Next.js, so let me tell you that in Next.js, your code will execute on the server first, then it send back to your browser, and then your browser basically hydrate it, and that's how your application will run. So let me clear this topic little bit more. Let me explain some real cases, like whenever your application, Next.js application will run, so what Next.js does, because Next.js has two things, server component and client component, right? So our HTML was pre-rendered by the server and sent back to the client. On the client, our browser hydrate our component. So hydration means it attaching our states, sorry, it's attaching our states, effects, and event handler with pre-render HTML. So so this process is called hydration, right? So this is the flow of Next.js when they are rendering our application. So if you understand this, let's move forward and understand what this diagram says. So let's understand this. We have a server, right? So server send pre-render HTML or run our code on this server, then send back to the browser, right? And this is the line we are used to create our store, as we same line we see in this normal React application, right? The same line goes here. So if we use the same code for creating our store, so this code will be executed on the server. So imagine this code will be executed on the server, and on the server we have our application is create a global store on the server. Okay, then imagine you have multiple users. For this example, we are assuming user A and user B accessing your application on the same time. Maybe it's a difference of millisecond or what, but close to the same time. And what will happen, user A requests some data, or imagine update data in your website. Imagine user A logs in, so their personal data will be stored on the server, a global store on the server which is present on the server, right? So what if at the same time user B want to access or login, both users are logging at the same time, right? Or user A want to update, and also user B want to update the data on the server. So imagine this scenario, and I will clear this in couple of seconds. So imagine if you have a one server and one global store and multiple users accessing the same data. So in this scenario, what will be happen? User A data can be accessible by user B, and so on. So this is a very bad thing, right? Means this is a little bit of security, not little bit. This is a completely security issue in your application, because different user has access to their to other users data, right? And they accidentally update others data, because our store, global store, which has to be present on the client side, but now they are present on the server. So imagine that this is a huge blunder, right? So let's understand more. So instead of creating one store, what they suggest, create a new store for every request. So let's understand why they are suggesting this. So imagine you have we have ABC users, right? So different user, or imagine we have a multiple request coming from the client side, right? So when request A comes, it says, it call the make store function and create a store. Now another request comes in, call the make store function, and another store is created. So every time a new request is come on the server, they create another, or we can say that a brand new store is created, right? let's see why we are suggesting this, why they are suggesting this. So there are some key difference in normal React applications. um, they will run in the browser. So if uh, obviously one browser has one store, right? And global store is okay. Why global store is okay? Because I'm a user, I have a browser, I am accessing your application. So if you're in your application, you are using Redux Toolkit or Redux store. So that store will be created on the client side, means in my browser. So nobody, no other user can access to that store which is present on my side, right? So that's why global store in this case is work fine. Okay, is working fine. Now configure store once. As we know, we configure store once, right? But in Next.js, especially in app router, they can run on the server first. One server handle many users. Global store on the server is unsafe. Let me explain you these things to you. Our code, as I say, our code will first run on the server, right? So this first point is that. And second, as we know, our one server can handle multiple of users, thousands, billions of users, right? So this is the second point. Third point, they are saying global store on the servers is unsafe. We just we just understand why this is unsafe. As you see, I'm showing you again this diagram. See this diagram. In this diagram there is a server. So global, if we are creating global store on the server, so multiple users accessing the same data, whether they are updating the data, getting the data, all data are mismatched, right? Because they um execute, they saved on one global store, and your global store is present on the server, right? That's why. So this is the third point, saying that global store on the server is unsafe. And make store function call will call on each request, as we see in this representation, that once any new request comes in, make store function will call, and this will create a brand new store. So every time a request comes in, this function is called and new store is created, right? Let's understand more. So here is another question came into my mind. So what if same user make multiple requests, right? This is this is the question you also asked while you are implementing or learning this topic. So same happened to me. This thing come in my mind, that what happen if one user make multiple requests. So on every request, user get a new store, right? So the answer is yes. On the server, every HTTP request gets a new Redux store. It doesn't like that if they are user A, user B, and user C. So user A request comes in, then only create a new store, and user B request comes in, then only create a new store. If the same user come request again, then not create a same store. Not like that. It says that every request, whether it is the same user, right? Every request, every HTTP request gets a new Redux store. Let's understand this with a example. Like imagine we have dashboard, we are visiting our dashboard page, right? As soon as we visit a dashboard page, what we uh, get, request starts, right? Request goes to the server, it create a store, then render a page, send HTML, and focus on this point. They said destroy store. What means, they saying that whenever you making an HTTP request, right? Request started on and request came to the server. Server create a store. Server render your page and send HTML to the browser and then destroy store. This store is created on the server, right? And they destroy that store. So the question, doesn't Redux lose all its data then? No. Why? Because the server side store is temporary. After the page reaches the browser, a new Redux store is created in the browser. So basically, the concept is the same. As we know, in React application, in normal React application, where the stories lie in the client side. So this is all the same. But what they do, they create a temporary store on the server, and when your render HTML sent to the client or the or browser, what they does, they destroy that temporary store which is created on the server, and the new store is created on your client, and everything works in, right? Let's understand more. See this, your server create temporary store and render HTML and send to the browser, and inside the browser your Redux store is created, which is long lived until unless you close your website or end the session, right? So now questions is, how many store exist, right? This is the valid question, because they said there's a they created a store on the server. Also, they said they also created a store on the client. So how many store are created? Let's see. So here is the example. So imagine browser requests any page, server create store A, okay, server renders HTML, then store A disappears, right? Then browser create store B, and then this store B, we are utilizing that store B. They say you interact with store B, right? So there are actually two store involved, a server store or client store. Server store is temporary, used only for rendering that request, right? Means they create a temporary store on the server for for rendering purpose, right? And client store is long lived, used while you are using the app, right? So the question is now, when is a new server store created? When new server store created, right? Because there are some cases at that particular time the new server store is created, right? Not every time server store created. So let's see, in this explanation, a new server store is created only when the server need to render a page. just focus on this line. A new server store is created only when the server need to render a page. So that request which that request which uh, makes server to render a page, that's that's the only case we have. uh, that's the only case server has to create a new store. So here below we have the few example, like initial page load. As we know, when we load our initially we load our website, that time they create a new server store. Second time, when you reload the page or full page refresh. Or third, if you are directly visiting the URL, means you are typing something directly in the URL, means you have a domain and you know the path, and you are just directly type into the URL slash dashboard, anything, that time. And the fourth is a request that requires server side rendering. Any request which requires server side rendering, that will create a new server store, that will create a new server store, right? During normal client side interaction, after the app has loaded, your browser continues using the same client side Redux store. Means what they say, during normal client side interaction, after the app has loaded, your browser continues using the same client side Redux store. Means normal client side interaction, what, like button click, state update, this type of things, doesn't require to be create a new server store, because this happen on your client side. Any user interaction will happen on the client side, but make sure that your button will not make some request or API call which make server to render page again, because if this happen, a new server store will be created, right? This is the very important line we have. Only requests that cause the Next.js server to render a page need a new server store, as I said, right? So, so far, what we learned, we understand that Next.js render their code on the server and send render HTML to the client side, which is browser. So that's why they are deciding to create the store on the server, temporary store on the server, and send back to the client side. After they after render HTML come on the client side of browser, they destroy the store, right? And creates a new Redux store in the client only. So whatever actions, state updates, and button clicks, and UI UI features like dark mode, right? This type of state change will be happen or stays in your browser only, which is the original way of doing this, right? So hope this understand you, because um, this takes me too long to understand this. That's why I'm creating this type of diagram, to understanding what is the flow and why this happening, right? So before before moving to folder structure, I like to show you this code. So how we create a store, right? So this is the basic code. We are import our configure store from Redux Toolkit, right? And create a make store function. And inside the make store function, we are returning our config store. In normal React application, we are just export our configure store directly, right? Let me show you like this. We are just export con store equal to configure store. We do like this, but but in Next.js we are wrap our configure store inside the make store function and return from it, right? So now you understand whenever you write this piece of code, you understand what make store is doing, because each and every request they create a temporary server store and pre-render your HTML, send back to the client, and inside the client they create a Redux store which lives until your session dies, right? So now it more sense to you, right? Or not you, me as well, because I'm also learning or um, exploring things around this, right? And let's see one other another file which is providing the store. So this is on this step we are just creating our store, and in this step we are providing our store into the whole application. So let's see the code. So as you know, uh, let me show you clearly this. So focus on this. Let me let me let me put this aside so you can focus on this thing only right now. So I think this is fine, right? So this is nothing but a component, right? A store provider is nothing but a simple component. But things to remember that this is a client component, right? We have to, because in Next.js we have a server component, client component, right? So we define our store provider, or we can utilize our store and provide store across the application, but this component has to be client. And why this component has to be client, we understand it in couple of minutes, right? So be with me. So understand this we already see that this component use client directive, right? And so we imported useref, we imported provider from Redux, React Redux, and we import our make store, which is created like this. Okay, and this is our store provider, which is our main component, and this store provider basically return provider, which is which has a store, right? And we're passing store ref inside the store, and we have children. So there are a couple of things in this component need to understand. First, see uh, why we have to use ref if we really want to pass a store in this provider. Why we have to use ref? Why we don't directly pass store, make a store inside the store? Or we can do something like this. Let me show you, like this, right? We just create a variable store and call our make store function and pass store in this provider. This work also fine, right? But let me tell you the reason why we don't have to do this, why they are not suggesting to do this, even though you are seeing the Redux toolkit official documentation. You see they are using useref. So let's understand this, right? Imagine uh, you have different slices, right? You have different states in your Redux store. So whenever you update any state inside a Redux store, what it causes? It causes a re-render, right? And as we know, whenever component re-renders, so internally what happens? Basically they call that function. So basically React call store provider again and execute each and every code, right? Each and every code which is present inside the function. So what are the codes? There are two line. One is the make store, and second they are returning their provider. So they recreate their store. They recreate our Redux store, right? So whenever imagine you have a variable, count variable, right? You have a count variable, you increment 1, so your current count is 1, or what was your initial count? Your initial count will be 0, right? And you are just pressing the button and it will be incremented by 1, right? So as soon you click on the button, React trigger the re-render, and it execute this code. Not exactly this scenario. I'm saying assume if any of your component make this component re-render, so this store store will recreate on every render. So what you see as a user, what I see, if these things happen, I'm clicking on the button, my value gets 1, and instantly after the re-render complete, my value becomes 0 again. So every re-render new store is created with the initial value and pass it to provider. So this is not we want. This is not we want, right? We want to persist our data in Redux store until unless we refresh the data, right? So let's see this. Now you have little bit clear idea of why we are using useRef here, because as you know, useRef holds the value across the re-render, right? When you store any value, or you referencing any tag or anything in your component, useRef is the only one who holding the data across the re-render. What it means if any other value in this component, they will be recreated, but this useRef is created only once. So let's understand this code again, right? This particular code, okay? This code so what it says, const, so we created a store ref, and inside the user ref we pass undefined, okay? And in this condition we are saying that if store ref dot current has nothing inside it, means basically initially it is undefined, so first time this condition will be true, and line will be here, your code execution will be here, and make store will create a store and pass into the ref, store ref. And whenever the component is re-render, this condition will become false. Why? Because store ref already has a store, and as we know, ref let us maintain state across the re-render, so the value will never disappear, right? So on the first load, store ref has the code will goes inside this condition and create a new store and assign to the ref, right? So we can access that store by doing store ref dot current, and that's why we are passing store ref dot current inside this store which is present inside the provider, right? So I think you understand why we create a store provider and why we use useref. right? And why this is a use client component. So I know you already know all of these things, but let me clear up one more thing, that uh, why we use client means why we are defining this component has to run on the client side, because by default in Next.js every component is server component, right? Why we make this client component? Because as you know, our React Redux internally use context, right? Context APIs. So this only work on the client side. That's why we are converting or using client component, right? So this is all the theoretical part, right? I have a little bit what we say, so this is the all explanation, right? So I am experimenting with this thing, and try to generate the bug, because we so far we understand lots of things in this video. So as I learning myself, I'm very curious about how it affect in real case scenario, because let's forget this for a while and assume, let come at this point, this diagram I said you, and even though you read this document, you will understand what I'm saying right here. On the server component, if you are creating a global store, then multiple user use or update each other datas, right? So I'm very curious about it. That's why I'm creating a demo project, and try to generate the code. Uh, Sorry, not code. Try to generate the bug, because this is a bug, right? This is a bug issue, whatever you call it, right? So let me show you this thing. Give me a second. So here, I already created a Next.js application, and I'm already set up. So this uh, this has a very few files. So let me show with layout.ts. So I think this is a very default file. We are just providing our store provider and wrap our children, right? So nothing important here. And let's see our page. So inside the page, what I am doing is creating some random request ID value and some console logs, and we are dispatching value and request ID. Here we are creating, and here we are setting those value inside our Redux store, right? And this is the important line, because the things is very fast, means assume you have a server, and uh, and multiple user accessing your server. So your server are very fast, even though you we are in development mode. Our uh, whatever change we make, we see instantly on the browser, right? So that's why I'm creating a delay here. So sleep is basically this function which promise and resolve after 5 seconds, right? So what I'm trying to do that is, first I open this in the browser and make a request, and before complete the 5 second I make another request from the another browser. So it's like two separate user has two different browser accessing your global store at the same time, and let's see what will happen, right? So let me put our running app here. So this is sort of, let me zoom it. Let me zoom it for you, right? So this is our output. Here is the code, and here is the output of that code, right? And let me bring another browser. Give me a second. Uh, so I have another one right here. Let me zoom it too. Okay, so we have this two different browser. One is I think Edge, Microsoft Edge, and another browser we have is Chrome. So basically, what our UI say, this is a normal text, this is the same text. We have main thing is request ID. Every time we reload, a new request ID will be generated, and this is our Redux state. If you have a console, our store.get state, so it will return all the state present in the Redux store. Uh, if you know, Redux store is basically an object. It's assume not assume, it's actually a object. So Redux store is uh, object, is a JavaScript object, right? So this is the JavaScript object, and this is the store only. Uh, for me and many of people, uh, what I say, amazed to see this, because uh, in many tutorials and many learning and many articles, everywhere we are listening, there is a store, there is a place where all the things are storing, there is a container or anything else, there is a box. So there are a lot of analogy of this. So what our store, Redux store, actually look like, so this is this is how our actual Redux store look like. This is nothing but a JavaScript object which has some values, and this is value and request ID we are defining. Oh, let me show you a store file as well, because I'm forgetting to show you a store file. So give me a couple of minutes. I'm showing you right here. So this is our store. This is our store file, right? We, as you see, we are creating this. We are configure our store in the same old way, right? As we use in React application, normal React application. Configure store reducer, and we have a counter slice dot reducer. This is the code of counter slice. Let me expand it. So this is the name of our slice. We have an initial state, value, and request ID, and inside the reducer we have a set request data function which update our initial values, right? So this is the basic slice, and we are passing this slice inside our store. as as you know, now you know where the value, request ID, and counter comes from, right? Because counter is our slice, and value and request ID are initial value. So let's come to the point, not going this detailings. uh, okay, let me show you one more thing. Let first clear our terminal. Why I'm clear our terminal, I will explain everything. So let's generate the same bug, right? Let's reload this and quickly reload this as well. These are two different browsers simulating two different users, right? So the code of the both output will be same, right? Now when this request is initiated, their request ID is this, and their request ID is this, which is good. Every user has different IDs, right? And when the request response is completed, the request id will be stored inside the store, Redux store, right? So match this WSR2i4, WSR2i4. This is the same request ID which is present in the Redux store. Now see this one. Their request ID is FI99DU. Now see this. Why this is so different? This request ID is not belong to this user. This request ID is belong to another user, right? So imagine if this user A log in their website and getting the detail of the other user for user B. So that's why we are here we are understanding the concept in this diagram. That same concept and error we are facing here, right? So now you understand why make store is important, right? And let me show you one more thing. The output of our terminal. Why I'm showing you output of the terminal? This is a basic console log. As you know, this is all our server component, and server components log also printed on the terminal as well. If you can also see in consoles, right? But here here you can see as well. Here you can see the specific server specific logs only, right, in terminals. So as soon first request is created in first request made on the server with this id, and after before completing this first request, another request was made. Both has different values and ids, but after the response comes from the after the response come after the response come from the server for both requests, what we see that this is fine for the user B, because this request come first, this request comes last. So whatever the request come last, their id will be updated on the first user, right? So this is a bug, this is a memory leak, right? We don't want this type of things in our application. That's why Redux introduced different setup, and the whole idea of different setup of Next.js is there. So now I hope you also understand, because at this point I am understanding little more better, because previously I see code, I just implemented in my project and it worked fine. But I think that just not to do copy paste, let's little bit deep dive in that concept and understand it better. That's why I'm sharing with you, because maybe most of you know more than me, or you know more other aspect which can help lots of people including me. So that's why we are seeing this. So let's quickly fix this. So I already let's clear this terminal first. I already coded, so I just comment this code and uncomment this code, and I will explain you. In this code is almost same, right? We are just creating a make store function and return configure store from it. Everything is same, right? Everything is same. Now inside a page we are comment this and this. So what is the difference in this line? So we are just uh, not importing store, because now store is not available. We are importing make store, and that's why we add this line here. So now this code will not complain anymore. Now let's quickly improve our provider. So let's comment this. As you see, this is our store provider, right? We are discussing our store provider here. Why we don't use this and why we have to use this. So this is the store provider, right? This is the exact same code. One thing is different from this code is that this is a normal JS code and this is a TypeScript code. This is the difference. Otherwise, everything is same, right? Uh, so let me quickly fix this. Now, now see this code again. We have a store provider, and we have our ref, and we are assigning our store make a store in the ref and passing store ref dot current in our provider, right? Store provider. Now everything is same. I'm not changing the code of this particular page. As you see, everything is same. The await is same, the console log, everything same. We are just utilizing make store, which is a latest implementation in Next.js of Redux Toolkit, right? And now let's quickly refresh this and this. Both are still in process because 5 second is not completed yet. Now for both 5 second is completed, right? As you see in both browsers, for this Chrome browser we have a 5QI RISE ID request ID, which is the same present in our store, and in our Edge browser we have this ID, the same ID present in their store. Now the data is segregated. Now each request create their own store, right? As we see, every HTTP request create a new store on the server and send back to the uh, and render the HTML and send back to the browser. And inside the browser, they create another uh, Redux store, which is lives inside the browser only. Okay, and that server created store will be destroyed, right? So this time we are getting the correct response. In this example, we fix our issue like memory leaking or what the bug we are seeing that multiple users accessing each other data, that kind of issues, because now the store is not global. Now the store is created on the request, right? And if you see in the terminal, for each request we have their corresponding response, means the data is now segregated, right? So that's all I have to not have to, that's all I want to uh, share with you, right? Because this is how I trying to learn the concepts and things, right? And trust me, I really want to go deeper on this topic, but this I think, oh my god, this video already this video already too long. So let's finish it up by showing the folder structure. So this is the folder structure. Basically your app has layout, and side by side you have store provider file. We already see this store provider file, and inside the lib we have our store, and inside the lib we created a feature folder inside the feature we have different slices, right? And we have a service folder. Inside the service folder we have api.ts. Inside the in this file RTK query is present. So this is the folder structure recommended by Redux Toolkit, right? So so uh, this is it for this video. Thank you if you um, patiently watch till the end. So I really appreciate it. And any suggestion, any improvement, you feel free to comment it down. And this how we together um, learn and improve our skills, right? So thank you so much.